Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back here to today's edition of Advanced Bass Fishing, and appreciate you guys checking out today's video and spending some time with me. And guys, today we got sort of one of those classroom educational videos that are really going to help you out a lot. A lot of people get bored by these type of videos because they're not flashy and it's not like immediate success. We're going to be talking about what the fall turnover is, sort of that fall transition that comes, usually it takes place beginning like October or something, but there's a definite transition that the fish make and that the lakes make this time of year that you need to be aware of. Adjust your techniques, adjust the areas that you're looking for. So we're going to get into that in today's video. Also, guys, for get started, a couple quick things we get to go over every day. Just wanted to thank everybody very much for using all the links I put in my video description. I know you guys hear that all the time, but all you guys that have been using and bookmarking my Tackle Warehouse link, subscribing to the channel, taking advantage of that stuff that I'm promoting in the links there. That's a really big help to keep the channel on YouTube, and a big thank you from me and my family if you guys are doing that. Appreciate it. Okay, the fall transition, man. That's what it is. There's a lot of like cliches and myths you hear about in fishing that have been. Some of them are true, some of them are half true, some of them are myths, some of them are myths that need to be dispelled, and some of them just need to be clarified a little bit. So let me clarify what the fall transition is and what you can do, how you can use it to your advantage to catch more fish. Now, depending upon the lake that you have, some lakes have a more definitive or have a thermocline and others don't. If you have a lake that has a lot of current in it, like some type of a river type lake, you probably don't have much of a thermocline. But if you fish a traditional man-made lake that's got some deep water in it, you usually have a thermocline set up in the summertime of the year where you have a distinct layer of water where the water temperatures change. And a lot of times below that thermocline, you have very poor oxygen levels. So in the summertime of the year, that's why you don't have a lot of bass that go really deep and stay on the bottom, is because of that thermocline formation. During the fall transition, as it cools off, as the nights get cooler, that water starts to mix a little bit and you lose that thermocline. The thermocline no longer exists, and it makes more of an optimum situation for those bass to go deeper in the fall time of the year. That's why here in Missouri, like in the Ozarks, when you get into November and December, fall and late fall, there's guys that catch fish. I've personally caught them on the bottom in 50 foot of water on Table Rock Lake before, in Bull Shoals Lake. So they'll get really deep in the fall time of the year because this fall transition has made the environment more deeper, more suitable in a lot of different depth ranges. So now in terms of what this does for you as an angler, how you can, it doesn't, so what if you know what the fall transition is if you don't really know how to apply it to your fishing? Here's the number one thing you need to remember during the fall time of the year, once that transition starts, like in October, November, something like that, is the bass are going to be spread out everywhere. This is the time of year where literally you can have, depending upon your water clarity, obviously, you can have bass that are on the bottom in 60 foot of water. You can have bass that are suspended 10 foot down over 60 foot of water. You can have bass that are suspended 20 foot down over 30 foot of water. You can have bass in 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 10, 15, 20, 25 foot of water. They're literally everywhere this time of year. The optimum conditions are. So this makes for two different scenarios. Number one, it makes for a little bit of an intimidation factor. Where do you begin at? But the good thing about it gives you a lot of options. So here's what you need to do. You have to decide, what way do you like to fish? Not necessarily what's the best way, because in the fall time of the year, there can be a bunch of different techniques that can compete with each other and actually win tournaments if you fish tournaments. So you have to figure out, how do you like to fish, and then go look for that type of water. Say, for example, if you're a shallow water fisherman and you love to fish shallow like I do, there's always some options for that. There's options all over the lake. You can throw top water down in the clear water all day long. You might be able to burn a spinnerbait if the wind's blowing good. You might be able to flip a jig underneath some boat docks. You might be able to run up the river and throw a squarebill crankbait on a rocky bank. You might be able to throw a crankbait on riprap if you like to fish shallow. If you like to fish, sort of a medium depth, where maybe you don't like to fish dirt shallow, but you don't like to fish super deep, but you like to get off the bank a little bit, you can get out on a point in 10 or 20 foot of water and drag a football head jig or throw a topwater out there if it's clean enough, throw a shaky head, you can do that. And if you like to fish deep, depending again upon the water clarity, you can get out there in 40, 50, 60 foot of water, jig a spoon out there, fish a jig deep, fish a Ned rig deep, fish a drop shot deep, look around for some suspended fish, throw a little swim bait on them. There's a lot of different scenarios that you can take advantage of after that fall transition's over. But one thing that I will tell you about in fall fishing is that out of all the seasons of the year, the bass, that they react and they relate more to weather patterns and weather changes than they do any other time of the year. In other words, if you say, for example, if you're fishing in July and it's been hot, it's been partly cloudy and 95 degrees for a week, then all of a sudden you get a thunderstorm roll in and it's raining for half a day. Those in July, the fish will not react to that. They'll stay where they've been. They don't care. They could give a hoot less if it's raining and cloudy. They're not going to move to the bank and start biting a spinnerbait or something. In the fall time of the year, it's different. If you get one of those situations where it's been typical partly cloudy weather for a week, and then you get one of those days where a front comes through and it's raining and windy, you better get your butt up on the bank and you better put a reaction bait on. Big spinnerbait, crankbait, topwater, swim bait, because those fish will move up and take advantage of those optimal feeding conditions almost immediately. So that's one thing to remember with that. And on the other hand, I have found out in the fall time of the year, if it's one of those days where it's bluebird calm, not much wind, especially in early to mid-fall, that's when those fish go deep. And that's when you need to just maybe suck it up a little bit and move out there and get out on a main lake point and probe around out there in 20 or 30 foot of water with a shaky head or a drop shot or a football head jig. Maybe that if those conditions are like that. And the best condition, if you can ever get it, guys, in the fall time of the year, one little side note here is if you can pay attention to the weather and say it's been normal weather temperatures, for a week or so, like seasonal. Everything's real seasonal, and then you have this bad Arctic front move in, or you got a bad front comes through, and it plummets that air temperature. Say your highs have been 75 degrees for 4 or 5 days, and then you get this bad front comes through, and all of a sudden your highs are 55 degrees. Guys, you need to be on the water. Those fish will light it up in those bad frontal conditions in the fall time of the year. They get shallow, they get active, they feed. It's one of the funnest times of the year you can fish. So anyway, guys, just a few random little tidbits there. Hope it helps you out. We'll talk later.